For centuries, Freemasonry has been wrapped in this cloud of mystery, right? Speculation, wild conspiracy theories, an organization that seems totally veiled in symbols and secret rituals. But what's really going on? So let's just push all that sensationalism aside for a minute. Together, we're going to dive into the actual source material and build a much clearer picture of what this ancient fraternity is all about.
Okay, so our journey really kicks off right here, with this amazing, historic Masonic crest. I mean, just look at the detail. You've got the architectural tools, the sun, the moon, and then that Latin motto down at the bottom, Audi Vita Tace. It means hear, see, be silent. Now, this isn't just for show. It's basically a mission statement, a code that points to the very private, reflective nature of the whole thing. And it perfectly sets the stage for our main question.
So that brings us to the big question, right? Is Freemasonry some kind of secret society with a hidden agenda, pulling all the strings from the shadows, or is it something different? A society with secrets, private traditions and rituals that are just meant for its members. That's the exact distinction we're going to unpack here. So let's start peeling back those layers and see what the evidence actually tells us.
And, to even begin to answer that, we have to tackle the #1 misconception right out of the gate. So many people just assume Freemasonry is a religion, but its own foundational texts say something completely different. And honestly, understanding why it isn't a religion is the key to unlocking their entire philosophy.
Okay, so to become a Freemason, there is one fundamental requirement. You have to believe in a supreme being. But this is the really clever part. They don't tell you who or what that being is. Instead, they use this deliberately inclusive and open-ended term, the great architect of the universe. This means a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, men from totally different religious backgrounds can all meet in the same room, on the same level, united by a shared belief in a higher moral order, without ever getting bogged down in specific religious arguments.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. This comes straight from the United Grand Lodge of England, one of the oldest and most respected Masonic bodies on the planet. They make it absolutely crystal clear. Freemasonry isn't here to replace your faith. It's a system of morality that's designed to work right alongside it. So the takeaway here is huge. It's all about a shared morality, not a shared theology.
Okay, but where did this idea even come from? I mean, this kind of religious tolerance, it didn't just pop out of nowhere. It's got deep, deep roots in the Enlightenment, the very era that shaped modern Freemasonry. Just think about it. After centuries of unbelievably brutal religious wars across Europe, the idea of having a neutral space where men could put aside those bitter differences and come together around reason and universal principles, well, that wasn't just interesting, it was totally revolutionary. That was their killer app.
All right, so if it's not a religion, then what is it? Well, at its heart, Freemason is really a practical system for self-improvement. It positions itself as a kind of guide, or as they put it, a blueprint for a better man.
This is how Freemasonry actually describes itself, in its own words. And notice what it doesn't say. It's not a textbook, it's not a list of rules. It's a system of morality, veiled in allegories and illustrated by symbols. So the whole point isn't to sit you down with a dry lecture. It's to teach these big ethical ideas through stories and powerful images that actually stick with you. And really, all of those teachings, they're built on 3 core pillars. Just 3. It's a simple framework, but it's incredibly powerful. First up, brotherly love. Just a basic duty to be kind and understanding. Second is relief. That's their word for charity and serving the community. And third, there's truth. The idea that you should always be striving for personal integrity. These 3 principles are the absolute foundation of that Masonic blueprint.
Okay, so how do they actually teach all this stuff? Well, they do it through this really rich and complex symbolic language, and it's all drawn from the tools and traditions of the stonemasons from the Middle Ages. Let's take a look at how this creates a pretty unique way of learning. Just take a look at this. This is the cover of a really important Masonic book from back in the day, and it is a total treasure trove of symbols. Look close. You can see the famous square and compasses, you've got pillars, a ladder going up to the heavens. And again, none of this is just for looks. Every single thing you see here is a symbol, and each one has a specific moral lesson attached to it. It's like a visual vocabulary for becoming a better person. So, the big story, the allegory that ties everything together, is the building of King Solomon's temple. The idea is that every new member is like a rough, uncut stone. You're imperfect, and the goal is to use the working tools of a stonemason,
like the square to make sure your actions are moral, the level to remember that we're all equal, and the plumb to be an upright person to shape yourself into a perfect stone, one that's fit for that great symbolic temple.
And here, this is where it gets really interesting. This is where you can see how all that symbolic stuff wasn't just kept inside the lodge, it spilled out into the real world. On the left, you've got a design for a ceremonial Masonic ark by the famous architect Sir John Soane, and on the right, that's Soane's own family tomb. I mean, look at them side by side. You can totally see the shared language, right? The domed top, that sense of a sacred structure. His Masonic ideas were a direct influence on his public art.
All right, we've talked philosophy. Now let's circle all the way back to that big question from the beginning. Let's talk about the secrecy, the elephant in the room. What are they actually keeping secret? And more importantly, why?
This slide really breaks it down perfectly. You see, a true secret society, well, you wouldn't even know it exists. Its purpose is hidden, its members are hidden. But Freemasonry, it's not hiding. You can find their lodges online, members will often wear a ring or a pin. What they do keep private are their rituals and their modes of recognition, basically the traditional handshakes and phrases they use to recognize each other. So it's really not about some secret plot. It's about keeping the experience special and meaningful for the people who are actually in it.
But what about all the conspiracies, right? The idea that they're pulling political strings? Well, listen to this. This comes from one of their most important founding documents, way back in 1723. It says, point blank, that no arguments about politics or religion should ever be brought inside the lodge. Remember that whole Enlightenment ideal? The lodge was designed to be a safe haven from all the arguments tearing up the outside world. It was meant to be a place of harmony, not a command center for some global conspiracy.
You know, the Freemasonry we talk about today didn't just spring into existence fully formed. Its legacy was actually forged in a pretty intense period of conflict, and eventually, unification, a real-world test of its own ideals.
So here's the quick and dirty history. The first big Grand Lodge was formed in London in 1717, but by 1751, a rival group popped up, the Ancients, and they claimed the first group, the Moderns, had gotten away from the old traditions. And for more than half a century, you had these two rival groups basically at odds. Until finally, in 1813, they came together and formed the United Grand Lodge of England, which is still around today. This was way more than just a business merger. It was a true reconciliation.
And this incredible object was created to celebrate that peace they worked so hard to achieve. Sir John Soane's Ark of the Masonic Covenant was literally built to hold the official act of union that brought those two warring factions together. It was a powerful physical symbol of the renewed promise of brotherly love.
But, and this is the really sad part of the story, that incredible symbol didn't last. In 1883, a huge fire ripped through Freemasons Hall in London, and this photo shows you just how devastating it was. The Ark, this beautiful monument to unity, was completely destroyed. The actual document survived, but that beautiful physical symbol of peace, it was gone. Forever.
So when you strip away all the mystery, all the history, all the conspiracy theories, what are you really left with? I think this beautiful old painting really captures the essence of it. It shows a journey, an upward path of stairs, leading toward light and knowledge. And at the end of the day, that's what Freemasonry is all about. It's a path, a system, a blueprint for building a better version of yourself. And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. In our fast-paced, digital, often divided world, does a 300-year-old system based on allegories and symbols and rituals still have something to offer? Does this ancient blueprint for building a better self, does it still hold its power? That's definitely something worth thinking about.